All right, let's just dive right in. I'm going to start this off with a pretty bold claim. We're about to dive into the story of the single most influential person who has ever lived.
So who is it? I mean, who's the most influential person ever? Seriously, think about it for a second. Is it a scientist? A conqueror? Maybe a famous spiritual leader? It's a huge question, right? Well, I'm willing to bet the answer is not who you're thinking of.
His name was Zarathustra. You might know him by his Greek name, Zoroaster. And look, if that name doesn't ring a bell, don't worry. Just stick with me, because his ideas, well, they're basically imprinted on the very fabric of our world today.
So, why the huge claim? What makes this guy so important? It's actually pretty simple. He created the world's first great monotheistic religion, Zoroastrianism. And by doing that, he basically wrote the blueprint, you could even call it the philosophical DNA, for pretty much every major Western religion and school of thought that followed.
Okay, to really get how big of a deal this was, we've got to go back in time. And I mean way back. We're talking around 1500 BCE, the late Bronze Age. And the world he was born into, let's just say it was a complete and utter mess. Violent, chaotic, just brutal.
Yeah, let's really set the scene here, because you have to understand the world he was reacting against. This was an age of darkness. Seriously, it was caught in this vicious, self-perpetuating cycle of pure destruction.
So what was going on? Well, for starters, there was constant, brutal war. And how did warlords get men to fight and die for them? They promised them spoils. What kind of spoils? Women and property. This toxic mix of endless war, owning other people, and the rise of patriarchy, it just created a world filled with slavery, corruption, and just misery.
And the gods in this world? Oh, they were basically a mirror of the whole ugly situation. People worshipped a whole lineup of them, but these weren't gods of love or justice. No way. They were petty, they were power-hungry, and everything was a transaction. You wanted to win a war? You didn't have to be a good person. You just had to offer the biggest, bloodiest sacrifice to bribe the strongest god. The whole idea of good versus evil, it wasn't even on the radar.
So, into that world, a world of constant violence and gods who just didn't care, steps Zarathustra. And he introduces an idea so radical, it changes absolutely everything. He completely reframes the human struggle. He says the real war isn't out there on some battlefield between tribes. No, the real war is the one happening inside every single one of us.
The core of his whole philosophy was this concept called Asha. Now, Asha is a big idea. It's way more than just, not lying. Think of it as the truth with a capital T. It's the cosmic order of the universe. It's righteousness. It's virtue. It's like the light that shows you the path to true wisdom.
And of course, every light casts a shadow, right? The opposite of Asha was Drush, which basically means the lie. This is the force of chaos, of deceit, of darkness. And for Zarathustra, this was the real fight. He taught that the most important war you'll ever fight isn't out there with swords and shields. It's the one you fight every single day, inside your own mind, inside your own heart.
Okay, I get it. This can all sound a bit abstract, right? Truth, the lie, cosmic order. What does it all mean? Let's use an analogy to make it super clear. And it's a famous one that was, no coincidence here, heavily inspired by Zarathustra's ideas, Plato's allegory of the cave. Just imagine we're all born as prisoners in a cave. We're chained up, and we can only face forward, looking at a wall. All we can see are shadows flickering on that wall. To us, those shadows, that's reality. That's all we know.
But then, one prisoner breaks free. They manage to get out of the chains, and they stumble out of the dark cave, and bam! They're hit with the blinding light of the sun. At first, it hurts their eyes. It's overwhelming. But then, as their eyes adjust, they see the world as it really is. Full of color, vibrant, real, beautiful. That sun, that true reality, that's Asha. But, and this is the most important part, the part that changes everything. The journey isn't over. Escaping the cave and seeing the sun isn't just about your own personal enlightenment. Finding Asha isn't a victory you keep to yourself. It comes with this huge responsibility. You have to go back into the dark cave and help the others see the light too.
So you see, this whole philosophy was so much more than just a nice spiritual idea. Because baked into this concept of Asha were three principles that would literally re-engineer how humans think for thousands of years to come. And what were they? Three pillars that basically built the modern world.
the individual, free choice, and a universal truth. Let's break those down.
First up, the individual. Now, think about this for a second. Before Zarathustra, who were you? You were your tribe, your clan, your family. That was your identity. But Zarathustra came along and said, nope. The most important thing about you isn't the group you belong to, it's that moral battle for truth that's happening inside you. For the first time in history, you, as an individual, were responsible for your own soul.
Second, and this one is a total game changer, free choice. His point was, you can't be forced to be good. Virtue, by its very definition, has to be a choice you make freely. He taught that every single moment of your life, you're standing at a crossroads. You have the power to choose Asha, the truth, or Druj, the lie. I mean, how revolutionary is that? It took moral authority away from the kings and the priests and put it right in your hands.
So, when you put all of this together, this personal battle between good and evil, this focus on individual responsibility, this idea of free will, you don't just get a new religion, you get a whole new operating system for humanity.
And that right there is his incredible legacy. This fundamental framework, the idea of one God, a universe locked in a struggle between good and evil, free will, a final judgment, this became the blueprint for the major monotheistic religions that would follow.
Seriously, his fingerprints are all over modern thought. This basic structure, it was picked up and adapted by Judaism, then Christianity, and then Islam. We're talking about faiths that guide billions of people today. And the influence didn't stop with religion. His ideas also profoundly shaped Greek philosophy, especially the thinking of guys like Plato. I mean, just look at this timeline. The reach is just staggering. You can draw a straight line from this one prophet in the Bronze Age, all the way through Plato, through the birth of these massive world religions, and keep going all the way to the 19th century. That's when the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche was so fascinated by his legacy that he named his most famous book, Thus Spoke Zarathustra.
And this quote from Nietzsche, it just perfectly sums up the whole idea. This journey towards Asha, toward truth, it's all about constantly overcoming your old self. You have to be willing to burn your old false beliefs down to ash, so you can rise from them, reborn, new and stronger.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's this timeless idea that your life is this personal, courageous journey toward truth. And that leaves us with a question. A question that's just as powerful today as it was 3,500 years ago. A question from Zarathustra, echoed by Nietzsche. What belief, what part of your own personal cave are you willing to burn to the ground to become new?